Do I look?
That's Lucht Citadel?
Yeah! I don't know if I can say that.
The Eiffel Tower looks great.
A while back, I was asked in my Discord server if I was going to be attending the first of many ESO anniversary celebration events, an event that'd be taking place on the other side of the pond in Amsterdam. I remember seeing the message and thinking, no shot. My apartment unironically looks like one of those guys really do be living like this and see no problem memes. I'm broke as fuck. There's no way I'd be able to afford the event ticket price or a place to stay in the Netherlands, let alone the plane ticket to get over there. So I wrote back to tell them that sadly I wouldn't be able to make it. I shit you not, 30 minutes after I sent that message, I got an email from ESO's senior community manager asking me if I'd be interested in attending a special creator-only event where I get to playtest the new ESO content as well as the anniversary celebration event in Amsterdam. Praise the divines. Of course, I said yes, and a few weeks later, I was on my way. The trip from Iglooland to the Netherlands is a long one, and I didn't begin my journey until the late afternoon. After snacking on some girl dinner at the Ottawa airport and AFKing by my gate for a little bit, it was finally time to board my flight to the Montreal airport. Sometime after arriving in Yule, I boarded my second flight to Amsterdam. Unfortunately, albeit unsurprisingly, I was unable to get so much as a wink of sleep for the entire flight. So when I rolled up to Amsterdam at around 11 in the morning, which would have been around 5 a.m. my time, I was feeling pretty cooked. I stumbled through the massive Amsterdam airport to find the chauffeur that had been sent to pick me up and drive me to the hotel where all the other ESO creators would be staying. My driver was pretty excited to hear that he had a YouTuber in his car, so he kept asking me a lot of questions about content creation. He then asked me for my channel name. Without thinking, I blurted it out, and next thing I knew, he was blasting my videos on his phone for the rest of the ride. Now that is a kind of torture that I wouldn't wish upon my greatest enemy. After that grueling ride to the hotel, I rushed to check myself in at a kiosk, only to find out that I couldn't check in till 3 p.m. It was noon. To keep myself occupied, I walked around and familiarized myself with the area near the hotel. I found a train station located just minutes away, which would come in handy later. There weren't too many exciting things to look at near the hotel, to be honest, and that's likely because it's located in the more industrial part of town. I figured that I'd probably want to catch the train to get to the nicer parts of the city, but I was too exhausted and I just really wanted to check in and sleep as soon as possible, especially because the weather was quite shitty out as well and I could feel my makeup from the day before melting off my face and into my eyeballs. I checked out a spar that was located not too far from the train station to see if I could grab a bite to eat. I would find out later from my friend and best PvP healer on PCEU, Degonyte, who lives in the area, that spars are super expensive convenience stores whose primary demographic is business people out to lunch and desperate tourists. That tracks. There I grabbed a sandwich, a bag of cheese onion chips, and a little green smoothie. Oh, and I couldn't forget to get some stroopwafels there, of course. After a few hours of walking around aimlessly, the clock finally struck 3 and I could check into my room. I dropped my bags off, scrubbed the remaining cosmetic sludge off of my face, and collapsed in bed. Finally, I welcomed the calm embrace of sleep. Little did I know it would be but a fleeting moment. I was rudely awoken by some firm knocking on the door shortly after I'd fallen asleep. Because I was in just my undies and I probably looked cooked beyond belief, and because I wasn't expecting anyone to be coming to my room, I just kind of camped my bed for a little bit. I waited for the noise to stop and then tried to get some more rest, only to be woken up again, this time by a phone call. The call went something a little like this.
Hello, did you get your little secret surprise box when you got into your room today?
No.
Alright, no problem. We'll get you one soon.
Alright. Thanks.
No problem.
So I stayed up for a little while to wait for my secret surprise box, but it never came. Not long after I started wondering if I had hallucinated the entire thing, I fell back asleep. I woke up bright and early the next day to check out Amsterdam before the creator-only playtest event later in the afternoon. I made my way to the nearby Sloterdijk station, bought a day pass just in case I needed it, and then hopped on a train to take me to the Amsterdam Centraal station. It was about a 30-minute ride, but it was really nice to look out the window and see so much of the city, even if it was overcast and the rain had already done a number on my hair. If you have naturally frizzy hair, you know what I'm talking about. The Dutch transportation system lived up to the hype. It was surprisingly easy to use, prices and relatively affordable as well, considering the distance that I was traveling. Upon arriving, I walked around the central station for a bit to see about buying an umbrella so that my camera wouldn't get soaked in the rain. After I acquired the loot, I walked around the red light district for the rest of the morning. Unfortunately, because I was in the area so early in the morning, a lot of the shops were closed, so I just walked around and enjoyed the view and did some window shopping. I found an esteemed Fibo shop, which is an iconic Dutch fast food chain that's famous for their vending machines that produce fried snacks, but it was unfortunately closed at the time. I must have ran into at least 10 of these cheese stores, man. They were all over the place. If you're Canadian, then you're familiar with how many Tim Hortonses we have all over the place, right? It was kind of like that. You just couldn't escape them around this part of town. I also found a lot of stores that had signs indicating that they were coffee shops. Coffee shops? You mean like cafes, you might ask? That's what I initially thought too until I took a closer look. I have to be careful to not show too much of it in case YouTube demonetizes the video. But these were actually stores that sold the devil's lettuce. Apparently, cannabis could be discreetly purchased in shops that primarily sold coffee to their customers back when it had yet to be decriminalized quite a few decades ago. Although laws have since changed, the names of these establishments stuck around. Eventually, I found a corny little tourist shop and I couldn't resist. I had to grab a couple trinkets to commemorate the trip, as well as some gifts for my parents. I didn't film these, of course, but there were a concerning amount of wiener-themed souvenirs in the shop. Chat, is that normal? Amsterdam is wild, man. After walking along the canal for a little bit, I stumbled upon a little bakery with some workers preparing fresh goodies right next to the baked goods that were for sale. I saw that they had sausage rolls and immediately knew I was gonna have my lunch there. Any sausage roll enjoyers? I also got a coffee from a machine and enjoyed my little meal in the small seating area at the back of the place. After re-upping my food and drink buffs, I set out again and walked a little further. By this time, one of those damn cheese shops that were located about 30 meters apart from one another was actually open, so I decided to wander on in there and see what all the fuss was about. As expected, the store sold an obscene amount of cheese, as well as little artisanal jams and crackers to go along with it. I ended up getting a small little stinky cheese as a treat. After that very necessary trip to the cheese store, I walked around for a little while before slowly making my way back to the central station. I managed to hop on my train back to the hotel just as it was about to leave the station and enjoyed my peaceful ride back. When I got to my hotel room, I found that little secret surprise box that had evaded me the day before waiting for me on my bed. It consisted of some little goodies and this cool-ass lanyard that I need in order to gain access to the playtest event and get special perks at the celebration event. Damn, that shit looks official, dude. Oh my god. Look at that, it's got my name on it. Psych, it was actually just on a piece of tape, but it still made me feel pretty damn official anyways. Here are all the goodies that I ended up getting for myself. Some Amsterdam socks, hell yeah, some little postcards, and some dope-ass magnets to put on the fridge. I also picked up a cheese keychain at the cheese store because it was kind of iconic. After checking out my haul, I tried to salvage my hair with a curling iron, touched up my makeup, had about 3 panic attacks because I was super nervous about meeting everyone, and then headed downstairs to the hotel lobby where the creators were all gathering to catch the shuttle to the playtest event. I got to briefly meet Nefas and PainInTheAxe in the lobby for the first time, which was really awesome, before the whole group skedaddled outside and hopped on the ESO battle bus. I boarded the bus and grabbed a seat next to VikingTrash, an ESO streamer whose streams I like to lurk in from time to time and who I've been watching since well before I started making YouTube videos.
Wow, bro, the Eiffel Tower looks great.
Upon arriving at the Sugar Factory, an industrial venue that Bethesda had scored for the event, we were quickly ushered past all of the neat decorations and into this grand area by the main stage. There, I ran into the lead combat designer and PvP lead, Brian Wheeler, who said hello and told me that he was a fan of the videos. That was pretty surreal, I'm not gonna lie. If you're watching this, hi. You should totally buff Templar. Just kidding. Unless...
Oh, is that a sweet roll? Do I look?
At the venue, they had an open bar for the creators as well as some little treats. After everyone made their way to the seats by the main stage and got situated, we were treated to a Gold Road preview presentation. This consisted of a quick excerpt from Matt Fire's speech about the success of the game that he gave at GDC earlier in the year, and Rich Lambert giving us an overview of the upcoming content that is actually already out by the time that you're watching this.
That's Lucht Citadel? Yeah! There we go. You're louder than Finn. That's good. It's impressive.
Once the presentation wrapped up, we were able to playtest Gold Road for about an hour before we were meant to attend one of the 2 roundtable discussions that we could have signed up for. I'd signed up for the one with the developers in charge of combat, scribing, and art. The roundtable was super insightful, as always, and I picked up a lot of information that I would eventually end up incorporating in my video about the entire playtest experience. Viking invited me to go out on the town with her sometime after the event, but I was feeling like Dog Garbanzo because the jet lag was still kicking my ass. So I just ended up eating my leftover sandwich and calling it a night. I woke up the next day ridiculously early once again, took my sweet time styling my hair and putting my makeup on, and then caught the first shuttle that was heading to the Sugar Factory for the celebration event that was open to everyone. Because content creators were VIPs, we got to skip the line and head right in before the event had actually started. I was planning to meet some friends that are my guildies in ESO there, so until they showed up, I pretty much just walked around aimlessly. There were some really neat things going on around the venue. There were plenty of food stands that sold ESO-themed foods, a dude was sculpting the iconic Ouroboros out of chocolate. There was an axe throwing range, there were some places that were set up for photo ops, a few workshops where you could basically do your crafting writs IRL. Amazing and iconic pieces of art could be found all over the place, and there were even some knights that were fighting and wrestling with each other in the ring. If you know me even a little bit, you know that I am all about that shit. I love it when dudes clad in knight armor beat the crap out of each other. Mika, one of the officers for my PCNA community and trading guild, Tamriel Trade Secrets, ended up finding me first. I'm sorry, Mika, but I have to tell everyone this next part. It was just too funny. Just moments after Mika had said hello to me, she cracked open the drink that she had brought with her, and because it was carbonated, it exploded all over the floor. I could tell that she felt terrible for making a bit of a mess and probably thought, man, what a first impression. I felt bad too, but we had a laugh about it in the evening when she and I recounted the story to her partner. Mika and I wanted to sign up for some workshops, but by the time we tried to, 2 out of the 3 workshops were completely booked for the day. Mind you, the event had only just started 30 minutes before we attempted to sign up for a workshop, so we made a mental note to arrive super early and sign up for workshops right away the next day. Fortunately, we did manage to nab a slot for the calligraphy workshop much later in the evening. We then found another guildie, Deg. We walked around the venue with him for a bit before grabbing some seats by the stage for the main event, the Gold Road overview that was live streamed on Twitch. It was so surreal to actually be attending a live event when I've only ever watched these kinds of things from home. It was also so hilarious to me that some people in my server were trying to find me in the stream anytime the cameras panned to the crowd. They were ultimately unsuccessful, rip bozos. During an intermission, I was spotted by ESOU's bravest Chat 1vxer, Ognevka, her partner and #1 Sorc player worldwide, Malcolm, and the guy that represents 50% of the solo community, aka Infinite Archive World Record Andy, aka #1 Zon Simp, aka the guy that got Plague Break nerfed, aka Lucht. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. We chatted for a little bit and Ognevka handed me her business card because she said she spotted me across the way and she could immediately tell that I was a noob and in need of some ESO tips. She is not wrong, to be honest. It was at this point that Deg returned with some drinks for us, including some tea that looked quite cursed.
What's that? No way.
I didn't want to be debuffed IRL, so I ended up not drinking it. We watched a few other panels, including one that went over some of the experiences when ESO was still in early development, as well as a zone design deep dive. And we attended a developer roundtable event in a swanky VIP lounge. We playtested Gold Road some more, and I grabbed a meal from one of the stands. Some Ashland dumplings made with gour meat, supposedly, which would explain the chicken flavor, and tomato soup. We also briefly ran into another guildie, Nara, and his partner Lix, who was accompanying him at the event, despite the fact that she didn't play ESO herself. Relationship goals, to be honest. After all of that, Mika and I finally attended our calligraphy workshop in the evening. I found the workshop to be quite nice, as I had spent a majority of the day in a pretty sizable crowd, so to kind of be off to the side of the venue scribbling away on my little paper was a nice change of pace. After I had properly warmed up, thanks to the help of our kind workshop instructor, I wrote a very important message in Daedric lettering on this slip of paper. I'm not gonna lie, it took all of my strength to not write something stupid. Mika and I walked back to her hotel after our workshop had finished up. I caught an Uber back to my hotel, and then I turned in for the night. On the final day of the event, I woke up nice and early, browsed Twitter for a bit, and then prepared my hair and makeup for the day. I arrived at the venue super early, about an hour before it was even supposed to be open to the public. But chaos struck. Rumor had it that some bozo had given the event host some grief by signing up for nearly all of the workshops for the day, making it so they had to do away with their usual online sign-up portal altogether. People suggested that the security was heightened that day because of the griefer or griefers that had done this. Who knows if this is what really happened, but either way, I couldn't make use of my VIP perks to get into the venue that day, and had to wait in line for quite a while before I could get into the venue. Because of the sign-up fiasco, Mika and I, as well as our guildie Nara and his partner, all waited in line for the alchemy workshop to be able to sign up on a sheet of paper. They asked us for our first and last names to sign up, so I hope that no one else in the line recognized me from YouTube. I think that was my biggest issue with the event, honestly. Having to dox myself a few times was not very cash money. In retrospect, I should have just given them a fake name. After meeting up with Deg, we watched a really amazing cosplay contest. Everyone did such a spectacular job. I only wish I had gone to the stage earlier so that I could have gotten a better spot to film the thing to show you guys. Where I was honestly not bad though, since I got the chance to see the cosplayers before they walked up to the main stage, so I was fairly close to them. Unfortunately, this dude was also positioned in a really suboptimal spot as he was getting in the way of my shots a comical amount of times. We watched a bit of the tabletop to Tamriel panel, and then Mika and I attended our alchemy workshop. At this workshop, we were going to be crafting the infamous Essence of Heroism potion, the most expensive potion in the Elder Scrolls Online. It's so expensive because it requires dragon materials, which are tricky to farm, but our workshop host must have done a lot of dragon mat farming during an Elsewhere celebration event or something, because she had plenty of materials to share with all of us. The process of making this color-changing elixir and customizing our potion bottles was really fun, and the final product is definitely one of my favorite little trinkets from this trip. We then reconvened with Deg and watched an entertaining ESO Family Feud event, where groups of ESO creators and their friends battled it out on stage to see who knew the ESO community better. Much like the iconic Family Feud show, contestants would be asked a question, and then they'd have to respond with what they believed would be an answer that the players in the ESO community would say.
I don't know if I can say that.
Makes you go, F you, Finn.
Fishy stick?
Fishy stick. All right.
Sweet roll?
From that event, I learned that Alinor was voted as the second best place to hang out in the game. That just so happens to be where my guild's trader is. You hear that, guildies? List your shit on the trader. At some point, another viewer whose name I recognized from Twitter spotted me and asked to take a picture with me. She was really sweet. If you're watching this, it was a pleasure to meet you. Before we left the event, I also went out of my way to find Edenprime, one of my favorite ESO creators, who you should definitely follow on Twitter if you haven't already. She was chatting with Olibeau, so I got the chance to meet him as well. He told me that he had went to some ERP museum while he was visiting Amsterdam. I didn't even know that was a thing, but that kind of sounds like content, not gonna lie. After the hilarious Family Feud event, Deg agreed to take Mika and I around the city. I really enjoyed this part of the trip, since the weather was finally chilling out a bit and I got the chance to see even more of Amsterdam. After walking for quite a bit, Deg took us to a tapas bar that he had enjoyed going to when he was younger and in the area more frequently thanks to his studies. We just grabbed some drinks there while we waited for Tim, Mika's partner, to join us. We then walked around the area some more and eventually hung out at a park for a bit so that Nara and Lix could join us. I didn't film much towards the end of this day because I was less concerned with being a content creator in those moments and more interested in just being present in the moment and hanging out with these people, most of whom had been a part of my little online community for years, so you'll have to deal with some janky-ass motion graphics as I fill in the gaps in my footage here. Ognevka, Malcolm, and Lucht were also going to meet us at the park, and when they finally showed up, they also brought along Hyperioxes and his partner. It was quite tricky to organize something to all do together because more and more people were quickly being added to our squad, and we didn't know where we could go that could seat all of us. Plus, we also had to consider Mika's and Deg's dietary restrictions, seeing as they're vegetarians. While we were at the park, Ognevka then broke the news to us that Nefas would be joining us as well with just a few other people. Well, that was a fucking lie. It turned out that he was going to join us with 15 other people, making our group consist of nearly 30 people, which is almost as much as the smallest EP small-scale group. Malcolm called a pizza joint to ask if they could seat that many people, to which they told us yes. So we made our way over to only find out that the place was really small and cramped. The seating arrangement was also kind of awkward, so I had no idea how Nefas and his Zerg were going to be able to fit in this place whenever they showed up. The pizza joint also had some interesting Sigma decor. Unfortunately, the menu wasn't very vegetarian friendly, and I couldn't really sit with Mika, Tim, Nara, and Lix, which is who I had planned to spend the evening with originally. So our OG group of 6 decided to break off from the faction stack to find a more vegetarian-friendly place to eat. By some stroke of luck, the place that was literally right next to the Sigma pizza shop was a vegan restaurant, so the 6 of us went there for dinner. After a quick meal, we all hopped on a train to get back to the Sloterdijk station. I said goodbye to Nara and Lix as they stayed on the train to get to where they were going. I said goodbye to Mika and Tim, who were catching a bus back to Germany, and then I said goodbye to Deg after he walked me back to my hotel. As per usual, I got some early sleep that night, this time because I had to make my way back home the following morning. I didn't really film much of my trip home because I was feeling pretty destroyed from not sleeping super well throughout the trip. Despite going to bed early and everything, I was often waking up every hour or so. Looking back, I also realized that I hadn't been eating all that much either, which surely didn't help. I was just constantly on the move or feeling too anxious to eat for a lot of the trip, and the consequences of that hit me like a 500 ultimate Balorg buffed Dawnbreaker on my way home. I made sure to drink plenty of fluids and eat my plain food of questionable quality, and fortunately I was feeling a lot better by the time I landed in Canada. Although one of my flights back was absolutely mold-inducing because of some kid on the plane that screamed the entire flight. I know that I like to exaggerate a lot, but I'm being deadass this time. The kid screamed for the entire flight, which was several hours long. As nice as it was to get back to the peace and quiet of my apartment, I was feeling pretty bummed out when I got home. It was so nice to have been able to hang out with people that I've known for such a long time online. It was incredible to be walking around in Amsterdam and taking in all of the unique sights. The ESO celebration event itself was also a lot of fun. Thankfully, because I captured so much of this trip and I'm recounting the tale to you all now so that I can make this video about the experience and post it on YouTube, I know that I'll remember this amazing trip for the rest of my life. None of this would have been possible without Bethesda's extremely kind offer to pay for my flight and accommodations in Amsterdam. I'm really grateful to have been considered for the opportunity. Moreover, Bethesda would have likely never granted me opportunities such as this one if it weren't for you all who continue to tune into my videos and engage with my content. And I appreciate that more than anything. That'll do it for my Amsterdam vlog. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry it took fucking ages to get out. Who would have thought that combing through 950 clips, editing them, color grading them, etc. would have taken so long, and I still feel like I didn't capture enough footage. Hopefully I'll be able to make it out to another ESO event in the future, perhaps one in the United States, so that I can meet some of the homies there. I know that there are going to be a bunch more ESO celebration events all over the globe, so if there's one near you, maybe worth checking it out, since the Amsterdam event was a blast. Alright gamers, thanks for watching. Thank you to my YouTube members for the additional support, and I'll see ya in the next video. Cheers.